I'm very happy to welcome you to our first WebEx, and we are so happy to join, that you found time to join our, followed our invitation to share your great story with our audience. We are here together with the German team, with Isabel and myself, Sabrina, and yes, I think we can start with the first question, because not many people of the audience know you yet, so maybe you can please introduce yourself to our audience.
Thank you very much, Sabrina. I'm happy to. My name is Lynn Paolella. I am the founder and VP of Food Product Development. I am a patient advocate of Ajinomoto Cambrooke, formerly known as Cambrooke Therapeutics. I am also the proud mom to Cameron, who is 28 years old, and Brooke, who is 23 years old, who both have classical PKU.
What is a patient advocate, Lynn?
So a patient advocate or patient advocacy comes in many forms, but for me, advocacy seeks to ensure that members of our community, particularly those who are most vulnerable, are supported on issues related to the maintenance and or improvement of their health and well-being. As a founding member and 27-year veteran of the New England Connection for PKU and Allied Disorders organization, it is the acronym NECPAD in the United States. I am involved as a patient advocate and event coordinator, which began long before Cambrooke was ever even established. We are a volunteer organization that has enjoyed bringing families together for much needed social events, educational conferences, fundraising for outreach efforts, and research for better future treatment options. And we have also worked hard to lead efforts that produces laws, reimbursement policies related to access to treatment for the metabolic community that my family is a part of and that Cambrooke has served for over 20 years. As an advocate for Cambrooke, I have also looked out for the best interests of individual patients and their families. I strive to be an available community resource by developing services and programs designed to meet the needs of the underserved patient community, which face barriers to healthcare access in an otherwise well-served population, such as through reimbursement, the federal school meal programs for grade schools from kindergarten through 12th grade, and also in universities. My influence on policymakers, both at the federal and state levels, and even we provide special dietary accommodations at vacation resorts, such as Disney World and on Disney Cruise Lines.
Oh, wow. Lynn, your effort is very impressive. And can you share how your journey began?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for that question. So my journey that would lead to the founding of Cambrooke began 28 years ago with my most important role and title, and that's mom. And I am proud to say that I am mom to Cameron and Brooke, my two young adult kids who have classical PKU. Cameron and Brooke have an older brother, his name is Bryce, who does not have PKU, but he has always been a tremendous support of his younger brother and sister. So my journey also began with the reality of feeding my children, because there was almost nothing available in the marketplace back then that they could eat. Normal staple foods such as breads and pastas and even many vegetables were high in protein, and their daily natural protein allowance was only 4 grams of protein per day, which is less than the 5 grams of protein found in a single slice of bread. Low protein foods that we could actually buy in the early days was extremely limited, and not something that we would actually offer our children because of the guilt associated with the low protein mail order foods that were just not palatable at the time. So it was, this is a small little story. It was early in September 1999 when Cameron, my oldest with PKU, would start the 3rd grade school. And I went to the annual Meet the Teacher night, where the teacher told all the parents that were present in the classroom that evening that their children had been busy in school all that day, and they were creating mobiles, the mobiles that hang from the ceiling. And those mobiles would hang all throughout the classroom over their desks. And the teacher said to see if the parents could identify the mobile created by our kids, which would inform us of where our child sat. So after circling the classroom, I would come to a mobile that had the words written all over it, "I'm hungry." I knew that was Cameron's mobile. I'm gonna cry. It was all I could do to hold back the tears. And those words on his mobile would tear at any mother's heartstrings. But for me, I knew I had to do something. And so began my journey developing low-protein food products for my kids and others like them.
When and how did you become aware of GMP, Lynn?
So I first became aware of GMP from my early discussions with a woman by the name of Virginia Schuett, who is a metabolic dietitian. She is an alum of the University of Wisconsin-Madison in 2002. Of course, this is in the United States. And just to provide a little background on Ginny Schuett, she is founder and director of National PKU News. And she is also the editor of the organization's newsletter. She has been working with PKU-affected families since 1972 and has published numerous articles, books, and other educational materials on the subject. Through Ginny's collaborations with the leading dietitian at the Wisconsin PKU Clinic, which is known as the Weissman Center, this woman, Sally Gleason, Ginny had learned about important research and trial results at the center with a new with the new protein isolation process that was being used to extract glycomacropeptide, GMP for short, from the whey production, which could lead to potential health benefits and provide value for the PKU population. Sally also provided Ginny and I with a sizable amount, it was a large amount of GMP to experiment with in a variety of baked goods, such as breads, muffins, cookies, biscuits, etc. And Ginny and I would prepare all these different food products made with this GMP, and we compared notes with our findings. And there were both positive and negative results from both of our trials, but the browning and the crust of the outer portion of our finished goods on both of our products looked beautiful. However, the interior of our products didn't quite meet the standard characteristics. So this was regrettably true across all of our experiments.
So interesting. So do I understand right? At the beginning, you tried the product only in low protein foods to create new palatable low protein foods and not a medical food for patients.
Yes.
So was it clear to you from the beginning that you would bring such a medical GMP product to the market? When this idea occurred?
Sure. So we as my husband David and I, explored several protein substitutes over the years. And you never know it's going to work. GMP was at that time an experimental ingredient. And because pure GMP, the molecule contained in all milk products, has no phenylalanine. It still must be isolated from the milk, which resulted in some trace amounts of Phe remaining from the other proteins in the milk. This raised a red flag for us, but I thought there was something still very special about this. My husband David and I inherently knew this was important. as a potential component, particularly for bread. My initial thought was to increase the protein content without increasing the fee. But even if we could accomplish this, there was no commercial supply available, and the price was just unknown about the GMP. So in the first year, we had no idea if this product could help, but coming from the heart, from my heart, I surely loved the idea for a natural protein source to feed my children. So we persevered.
How did it come about that you decide to turn GMP into a product for PKU patients?
The initial process, I would say, evolved over 6 years. And this is a funny story. On Cameron's 10th birthday, my husband David and I received a call from Sally Gleason from the Weissman Center while we were keeping track of a dozen or more children at a local amusement park for Cameron's birthday. And Sally asked Cambrooke, or David really, to lead an industry-focused group to explore the commercial use of GMP. David committed to support the group, but he suggested that UW-Madison, the university, be the host, as they were a neutral third party that would encourage broader industry participation. That was really important for us. For the first 4 years, only Cambrooke, 2 other research companies, and the Weissman Center for Dairy Research participated. The other formula companies were invited, but did not participate. The task force determined as a new ingredient, a safety study in PKU should be conducted. So Dr. Denise Ney, who's a PhD, dietitian, was recruited by Sally Gleason to design a preclinical study using PKU mice, sourced from Dr. Carrie Harding's lab at Oregon Health and Science University. OSHU is what they call it, also in the United States. Dr. Ney received an NIH grant to conduct the study. Several years and a dozen quarterly task force meetings later, Dr. Ney's data showed GMP to be safe and improve the health of PKU mice over amino acid medical foods in 2008. Both blood and brain Phe were lower on GMP, and the organs showed much less oxidative stress. It was this data that compelled Cambrooke to invest in developing applications for for GMP. The problem became at that point sourcing the material. The only U.S. company that made GMP, who was also a task force member, would not commit to producing a commercial product.
Oh, such a sad thing.
Yeah.
And then you move on, but you still move on with the idea. And was it not very risky for you to take such a big step for Cambrooke to move on alone without support?
My goodness, yes. It was definitely a substantial financial risk for our family personally, as well as for the company, Cambrooke. We were making a bet, a risk that our personally guaranteed bank loans and the new investors we attracted could be repaid. It was really important. By raising outside capital, we were able to properly support the business growth and sustain the long process of building awareness and a market for this new protein source for PKU. After a while, the patients noticed that they have better outcomes. Lack of GI distress and good dietary compliance overcame many of the unwarranted fears of this new product. It was only in 2015 did other companies introduce their own GMP products and validate our insight and innovation.
How or by whom was the first GMP for PKU developed?
The Cambrooke team found an innovative dairy company in Denmark. I don't know if you know, Arla Food Ingredients is the name of the company. And David traveled to Denmark at that time and met with the company's CEO. His name is Henrik Andersen. During their introduction, Henrik told David, "I have been waiting 18 years to meet you." Indeed, Henrik learned of GMP and its potential for PKU when he first joined the company 18 years prior. Cambrooke had found its GMP supplier, and along with our research and development team at Cambrooke, we would begin our first development project of Glytactin Buttermilk. Cameron and Brooke, my kids, would be the first PKU recipient of this new natural development. And honestly, as with every new development at Cambrooke, I have two really tough critics, Cameron and Brooke, that judge the quality of our products on every single level. If they don't look good, smell good, taste amazing, and packaged in a way that doesn't meet mainstream, they don't pass. These products are designed to meet their needs and the needs of others like them. And as a side note, because of my family's connection to the PKU community, both through Cambrooke, but also as well as through NECPAD, the NECPAD organization that I'm still a part of, we've developed literally hundreds of lifelong relationships in the community. When my kids were younger, and to this very day, I have been very involved in planning events that would bring families together. We do week-long camps that would unite children. We've done PKU cruises and vacations that would draw families together. And it's for this reason that I have a unique, I'd say, social advantage with the community, which has provided direct access to an exceptionally enthusiastic audience that are very keen to survey Cambrooke's development efforts in order to provide feedback for what's next out from Cambrooke.
Oh, so nice. So is there a difference between Cambrooke's GMP and other companies?
Yes, I would say definitely. Cambrooke's lowest fee products available anywhere in the market is a well-guarded secret. But suffice to say that we take the raw material from our supplier and process it further to even further reduce the fee in Cambrooke's Glytactin with GMP. And this has occurred really since our acquisition by Ajinomoto, who is a deeply scientific company and the world leader in amino acid manufacturing and isolation. This has been a tremendous benefit to Cambrooke and to the PKU and tyrosinemia communities.
Can you focus on your journey in the development of Cambrooke's GMP? Because here nobody is really aware of that.
Sure. Cambrooke secured the rights to a patented formulation for its Glytactin GMP formula in 2008. We began producing our GMP products in 2009, and we brought the world's first GMP product to market in early 2010 with the introduction of Glytactin Buttermilk. It is true that another competitor registered their GMP product a few months earlier in Germany than Cambrooke. However, Cambrooke began with its 11 GMP product formats that were developed following our 6 years of clinical studies and 8 years of market acceptance by the PKU patients, which the other companies have benefited from. Germany is the only European country where another competitor was able to register their product ahead of Cambrooke. But Cambrooke has led the innovation in food and formula for PKU with GMP since its inception, and other companies follow our lead as we continue to innovate. Since that time, we have experimented with dozens of formats and flavor profiles for GMP-based products. We have more than 25 SKUs today and continue to refine and produce more. Cambrooke-Gründerin products are available in North America, Europe, Australia, South America, and now even in China.
So thank you very much, Lynn, for the story. And you told us you brought a few more moments from your life. So maybe you would like to explain them to our audience, what you brought us in addition.
Sure. So this is a picture of Cameron and Brooke when they were very little. And this was a lobbying effort that took place in Washington, D.C. And a group of us from around the country are pushing for the Medical Nutrition Equity Act, MNEA, which is still not in law yet, but when it finally becomes law, every state in the country, in the U.S., will have equal access to all low-protein foods and formulas. And then the next picture, this was a picture from the Boston Globe newspaper, which was an article when Cambrooke first became a company. And this was me creating some of our first low-protein foods for Cambrooke. And I'm doing that with Cameron and Brooke. They were little. And then the next one, this is my daughter Brooke's high school graduation picture. Next after that, this is Cam and Brooke just a couple of years ago. We were on vacation. And I just have to say this too, they are best friends. Cameron and Brooke are absolutely best friends. All three of my kids are really close friends. Every mom's dream. And here they are with their older brother, Bryce, who does not have PKU, but he too has always been an official taste tester of Cambrooke's products. And I give you a little bit of background about Bryce because you know Cameron and Brooke. But today's Bryce is a protein scientist who is dedicated to cancer research. A little background on Cameron. He is a paramedic and he is a first responder, especially during today's COVID times. It's very scary for us and for him, but he's a hero. He returned to university 2 years ago. He actually has a degree in psychology, but he returned to university 2 years ago, and he is committed to getting another degree in the medical field. He wishes to become a physician's assistant. And Brooke just graduated university with a degree in graphic design. She is also a photographer and videographer, and she frequently travels with me to educate the community on Cambrooke's products. She's been to many European conferences with me as well. And lastly, this is my husband, David, and me, my partner in life and in marriage and in business. And this is us in front of our glycactin processing line. And this is where we make all of our liquid GMP beverages.
Wow, Lynn, I'm so happy that you shared all your story with us and the audience. And thank you very, very much for this wonderful memories from you and your family. It was such a pleasure to have you here and telling your story. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for inviting me. I really enjoyed this. And during these times of needing to interact virtually, it's very nice. I really appreciate these tools, but I much prefer being with you all in person. And I hope I will be invited back to meet with your audience in person.
Yes, sure.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for your time. But I think